Hey guys, before we get started on all of this, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. I know, the whole idea of doing this movie made me really uncomfortable in the beginning. Peter approached me, kind of gave me his idea, and at first I was pretty apprehensive, but I looked into work that he's done. He's incredibly talented, and I thought about it a lot, and I thought, well, maybe I have some kind of a story to tell, so I do hope you enjoy it. One of the things that sort of led me to agreeing to do this was that I thought it might be a great opportunity to raise some funds for the sport, for safety on cross country, and specifically for frangibles to make sure that they're available to all of the events that we need. So with that in mind, I approached a few companies that are good friends of mine, and they all agreed to donate some pretty significant money to the USEA Foundation to go to cross-country safety and specifically to the Frangible Fence Fund to make sure that those fences are available for all the horses and riders here in America. So we're going to play their commercials now. Please check them out. If you have the chance to support these companies, please do so because they really have committed a significant amount of money to trying to keep safety moving forward in the sport, and that's what it's going to take. So, again, thank you. Thank you for humoring me and watching this. Peter did an amazing job, so I really hope you enjoy his work, and here we go. Looking to improve your style? Need a gift for that special client? Exceptional Equestrian's journey started with Cindy Lay. After retiring, Cindy began crafting halter and bridle charms, selling them from the berm of the Colorado Horse Park. What began as a part-time endeavor blossomed into a thriving business. With just her trusty Nissan Murano, Cindy traversed the country attending horse shows from coast to coast. As demand grew, so did the business. Trailers turned into trucks, and trucks multiplied. Today, Exceptional Equestrian boasts 2 prime locations at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala. Their curated collection features premier brands such as Sam Shield, Equiline, 4 Horses, Ego 7, the Kenyon Collection, Vestrum, and Animo. From equestrian essentials to stylish apparel and home goods, they offer a diverse range of products. They also carry tailored Sportsman, Tipperary, RJ Classics, and a wide variety of home goods and tack. The dedicated team takes pride in providing top-notch customer service, from expert safety equipment fittings to crafting the perfect ensemble or finding the ideal gift for your trainer. Step into Exceptional Equestrian and transform your style journey with us. Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them. Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a great ride.
Make sure you ride the drop on the backside. He's gonna be surprised by it. Don't ride backwards to it, absolutely. So just get your eye on that white rail at the top. Go on. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, so like it was always expected, right? You're going to go to school. My parents worked hard, wanted all their kids to go to university. So I enrolled, and I went down. I really didn't want to go, but I was doing it because it was the right thing to do for my parents. And I remember sitting in the class, the professor did roll call, and she said, look, if your name hasn't been called, come up to the front and we'll figure it out. So my name didn't get called. I went up to the front. It was a 7:30 a.m. class because I wanted to be done in time to ride. So I had all my classes really early. And she looked me up and said, actually, you enrolled in the wrong campus. You're supposed to be on the other side of town at 7:30 p.m. But don't worry, go talk to your counselor and we'll figure it out and you can be back in the class by tomorrow, I'm sure. And I remember I walked out, I sat on the steps of the university and I just thought, you know what? This is a sign from God. I am not supposed to be here. This is not my path. I'm not gonna do it. And so I went home and I told my parents and my mom burst into tears and my dad got mad. But to their credit, which would have been a tough thing to do in our town with their friends and all of that, they both said, look, if this is what you want to do, then that's what we're going to do. So they sent me away to be a working student for Peter Gray and Paul Delbrook. And I remember I went, I didn't want to be, which is sort of ironic now at this point in my life, but I didn't want to be in my 40s wondering, could I have? So I remember just like having a conversation with myself and saying, look, just go, try it. And if you fail, you can always go back to school. You can always go be a farrier. You can always go do something else. But I always, from a young kid, had this fear of like missing my window. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take my shot and I had the opportunity to do it. And fortunately, you know, it's worked out okay. I did great things. Lion King and I jumped around Kentucky twice. We went and jumped around Burley horse trials in England. I won my first big event on him in 2007 at Red Hills in Tallahassee, which was the first big thing that I ever was able to accomplish where I could say, like, I did it. I remember it was in the newspapers, I got interviewed. I won the lease on a BMW for a year, which was a huge deal for us. He was a really special horse. We got to go and ride in the World Cup final in Sweden. I got to go some really cool places with him. Tell You Why was a great horse. He jumped around Kentucky when, to be honest, ability-wise, he probably shouldn't have. But I knew he would, and he wanted it, and he took care of me, and he was a great horse. He was a really good horse. I miss Tristan a lot. And then I had Monty, the direct merger horse. And that was a horse that he won some events, but they were usually smaller events. He was really difficult. I couldn't really get the dressage phase competitive enough. And I remember, funny story, I remember I took him to Kentucky and I went there thinking I could, you know, have a good weekend, but knowing that the dressage wouldn't be competitive enough. And I jumped him around cross country. And he was such a strong horse, you have to spend so much time setting him up and preparing him for the fences. You were slow. You couldn't ever be fast enough. And I remember going out on that course at the 5-star there, I was checking my minute markers as I'm going and I'm like, I'm on time. This is incredible because the fences were finally big enough. The crowd was massive enough for him that he paid attention. And I finished cross country and I was double clear. It's the first time I ever made time. Honestly, the only time I ever made time in a 5-star was on that horse. And the next day, at that time, what would happen if they liked your horse, it was the year of the Pan American Games and they were in Rio. So if they liked your horse, the team selectors would say, hey, after you do your your vet jog. If they liked your horse, they'd say, hey, we want to look at your horse for the team, have it hang around after the competition's over, and we're gonna have the vet look at it. And they never said that to me. And so I called up, because I was an idiot, I called up the head selector on the phone, and I don't know what I was thinking. I said, hey, you guys didn't ask me about my horse. And he said, well, yeah, I mean, we like him, but we don't think he's ready to go. Like, he probably needs another year, and he's a bit difficult. We're not sure he's really the horse. And I said, yeah, well, you're gonna regret that, because I'm gonna jump clear today on show jumping. I'm gonna make you look like an idiot. And I hung up the phone. And then I was like, what is wrong with me? Why would you say something like that? But it just came out, right? Like, it just was what I was feeling in the moment. I was so mad. I was so mad, and yeah, I was mad for me, but I was mad for the horse because he was incredible, and he deserved to at least be looked at. And so I went into show jumping, and he jumped clear. He did it. And I remember I looked up in the stands, and I gave a little fist pump to the head selector, and they still didn't take me, which was fine. But he was a special horse, and that was that's the big competition I had with him, and that's the best finish I've ever had at a 5-star. He was 7th, and right up there between big names in the sport. I remember standing there between Mary King and Ian Stark on each side of me, and I was like, this is unreal. That's like sitting between Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson in our sport. And I'm like, wow, it doesn't get any better than this. It was unreal. So a day for me would be starting the barn, usually around 6:30. The girls get in the barn and get the horses fed. I'll usually show up around 7:30 or 8. I'll be on a horse first thing in the morning. Try to get most of my riding done by noon. So I'll usually ride somewhere between 4 to 6 horses a day. So depending, I'll be done somewhere between noon and 2. And then I teach in the afternoon, lots of lessons. I have some really good students of all levels who come in here, and I like to have my horses done so that I can really focus on them. That's sort of a typical day. We'll finish up around 5:30 or 6. And then if we sort of every 2 to 3 weeks, we have an event. So we're usually gone like on a Thursday. Thursday we compete, usually Friday, Saturday, Sundays. Additionally to that, I had my students, my regular clients that come along. And so I had 7 of them this weekend that I have to help walk horses, warm them up, sort of debrief after their round, whether it's their dressage test or their cross country or their show jumping, talk about how we feel it went, if we need to do a little bit more training at home, what are the tweaks we could make, things like that. And so it is a challenge because, again, you're trying to balance all these things. You want to keep the people who own these horses for me to compete and are wanting top international horses.
So basically, a horse syndicate is a group of owners of a particular horse, whether it be 2 owners or 3 or 10 that share equity in the horse, and there's an rider manager chosen, which in 99% of the cases is the talent, which is John Holling in this case, who is a member of the syndicate as a rider manager, the person that we are all banking on to take the horse from wherever he has started up through the levels, hopefully to the highest level of the sport.
John's strengths that we haven't yet talked about is his skill and ability to bring on the younger or inexperienced horse from one that's barely broke up to a highly competitive horse in the upper levels. Yeah, and that's an incredible talent that John has.
I just felt a chemistry with John, as far as I liked how he thinks, I like his philosophy, and I think he is, literally one of the most talented riders in the sport today, and has been for many years. I always tell John, horse by horse, John has and can beat any rider in the sport on any given day, in any given event.
He's very focused on keeping the horses sound, keeping them fit. If they're not ready for a competition, even though that's been on the calendar, they don't go. It's not just, oh, we got to get the horse to this competition no matter what. You know, we stick with John because it's all about the horse. What my experience has been is I have become part of the Holling family, like literally. You know, John values my presence as a team owner and treats me with a sense of value. And so I think there's so many levels in this game, this horse syndication game, and John checks all the boxes as far as I'm concerned, from communication to the feeling of being part of something, part of a team, and the sense of family. Like this group here, Team Holling, is a true family.
I need to be focused on that. So you have to be switched on all the time. It's definitely a balancing act at the competition. And then trying as well to find time when you can like just take a breath, take a moment, and get refocused and re-energized for my own competition.
I tell people that I am the chief logisticizer. I try and keep the ship in order so that John can do his job and not have to worry about all the rest. I pack for the horses, make sure they get what they need, and try and just keep everything flowing so that he can get on and do his job and not have to worry about all of the other little details. That's my job.
Okay, take two.
Take two.
She keeps the ship going. Jen's pretty amazing because her role has changed over time. When we first got married, Jen rode for the Canadians. Like, she's Canadian. She was listed for a bunch of Canadian teams. She rode around a lot of big events throughout the country, throughout North America. That takes a real commitment from both of us, and now she focus is trying to keep the farm going and to keep things organized. So she's, right now as we're doing this, she's in the house at her desk doing invoicing, communicating with clients, trying to keep the business side of it running so that I can focus on competing.
At the end of the day, when push comes to shove, we kind of know there has to be a separation and somebody has to take on one role and somebody has to take on the other, because he has to focus at what he does. It's not the safest of sports, and so if he can't be allowed to organize, he's unsafe, and then he's unsafe for his animals, he's unsafe for his family. So if I can do what I can do and the owners can do what they can do, then he can go out there and be as organized and as safe and as competitive as he wants to be.
The first thing they always tell the rider is it's not your fault, it could have happened at home. To this day, I don't believe that in my heart. I know it was my fault. I'd never done it before, but because I didn't have enough time, I sent Monty out to lunge, to loosen him up. And so I had the girl who was working for me at the time, we had an employee, and I had her lunge him because I knew when I finished my cross country on Simba, I had to hand him off to somebody, have them take him back and look after Simba. I got on a motorcycle and zipped back to the barn. I got on Monty. He was hot. He was stressed out because he was a stressed out horse, and I remember thinking, like, this isn't a great start for him, right? He's excited and now he's going to be a bit unrideable. And I got out to the warm-up, and it was kind of a weird warm-up. You had to warm up by the barn, and then they shifted you to the next warm-up, but there was nobody else. They were just waiting for me, and I had to go. And I got to the start, and he was really fired up, even for him. And I shouldn't have gone, to be honest. But I did. And I got out to the 7th fence on course. It was just a rail to a wedge, and I remember it to this day. The wedge was painted to look like a piece of cheese. It had little holes in it and a stuffed mouse coming out one side. And he jumped the rail. It was 3 strides to the wedge, and in the 2nd stride, he just stopped, and he stood up, and his legs shaked, and he fell over on me, and he was done. I remember I didn't really know what was happening at the time, but I knew it was bad. I had to get his noseband off, because I thought if I could get his noseband off and maybe he can breathe a little better, maybe that'll help. And I got the noseband off, and I loosened the girth, and when I loosened the girth, he took 1 breath, and that was the end. And it was a terrible day. I had a good friend earlier in the day, had an accident and hit his head. He was in the hospital in Tallahassee before this happened. So that was kind of weighing on my mind. And then obviously my horse had the accident. I'm sitting there on the ground. I was in shock. And I hear them radioing around, and they're trying to get Jen. Jen's 9 months pregnant. So Jen comes up, and she's on a 4-wheeler with another friend of ours, and I see her, and she comes up, and she's a rock. She's tough as can be, and so she, grabs me, and then a couple hours later, I was trying to kind of keep going because I didn't want to stop. I knew if I stopped, I was done riding, but I knew if I stopped trying to help people, help students, help clients, that it would hit me, and I just wanted to put it off as long as I could, just not go there in my head. And so I went out to help. My friend who had hit his head had a group of students, and I went out to help one of them, and her horse had an accident, and it died on course. So we had my friend in the hospital and 2 horses die in one day. It was without a doubt the worst day of my competitive life, probably the worst day of my life other than when my father passed away. It was the worst day of my life to that moment, for sure. And, a part of that is obviously you lose your horse, your partner, and something you've put all this time and effort and love into. But the other part is I knew that day had changed the sport of eventing, not just for Florida, not just for that horse show, but for the world. It was a bad day. And I remember we sat in our camper that night with a group of friends, and we had pizza, and we were drinking a beer, and nobody really knew what to say. We were all just really numb. It was just a terrible day, and you didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was next, to be honest. So in the days following that, you have to keep in mind, again, I had a kid on the way, right? Jen was due. That was in March, and we had Caden April 2nd. So that was 4 weeks later, we had our son. So there was a lot of emotions, and I remember I was in shock. I was numb. I don't know what the right word for it is, but I was not thinking super clearly for quite a while. But the big thing is you have guilt, a lot of guilt, because this is, I had that horse for 5-6 years at that point, getting him to that level and training him and trying to get him to be produced the best that he could be and really be partners. And so I didn't know if I wanted to keep going. I wanted to quit. I remember seriously debating what to do with my life at that point. And I think having a new baby on the way kind of pushed that along even more. Like, do you want to switch careers completely? Like, how are you going to make money? What are you going to do for a living to support your family? And at the same point, do you want to go out and compete in a sport that's as dangerous as this with a newborn baby? Don't you want to be around for your kids? And so there's that balancing act there. And I remember within a couple weeks, I decided, right, if I'm gonna keep doing this, then I have to try to do something to help. I have to try to do something to make things better, or at least know that I tried, right? So sort of going again back to when I was 19 and thinking, I don't want to be in my 40s and wonder, what if? That was another one of those big moments in my life where I thought, okay, if I'm gonna stay in the sport, if this is what I really love to do, I wanna know, whatever happens, that I did everything I could do to try to make it better, whatever that means, whether that's more exposure, safer, all of that stuff. And so it was a shift for sure for me and sort of my mindset with the sport. I wanted to compete, I want to be at the top, I want to be the best that I can be as an athlete, as a competitor in the sport, but not for free. I know there's a price to be paid for that, and I didn't want that price to just be I lost that horse. I wanted it to be my time and effort and energy. Hey guys, so I'm sitting here in the parking lot after another weekend where we tragically lost another horse and rider to an accident on cross country. But I think the big thing was I was sitting at an event here in Florida and there was an accident, and sadly a woman passed away. And I remember thinking like, okay, this is what's not supposed to happen anymore. This shouldn't be happening. And it's, it's life. People have an accident in a car and they tragically lose their life. But this one, I just was sitting there thinking like, are we really doing everything we should do? And so, again, sort of my key moments in life, I tend to just blurt stuff out and just do things, right? And in that moment, I was sitting in my truck. It was cold. It was kind of a typical winter day in Florida, which for people in the north will laugh, but it was cold enough I wanted to be in my truck. And I made a post and I put it on social media and I said, we're not doing enough. We need to raise $500,000 to get as many frangible fences on course as we can. And frangible fences are fences that if the horse hits it, they collapse. They have to hit it with enough force that it would likely cause a fall, but then the fence gives way. And that was really new technology, and we used it some, but not all of the different ways we could use it were being used because it's very expensive. It's very cost prohibitive. And I remember sitting in that truck thinking, that's ridiculous. Like, this woman died and we're gonna say, well, we couldn't afford it? Like, it's unacceptable. And so I put this challenge out that we're gonna raise the money and we gotta do it, and that's all there is to it. And I posted it. And then I thought, well, that may not be the best idea in the world. So then I called the CEO of the USEA and said, look, I've done this. I'm sorry, but like I already did it. It's out there, so I can't take it back. And they immediately jumped on board and said, so, that's great. It's exactly what you need to do. We're gonna make it happen. And so with the United States Eventing Association, and Rob Burke was, who's a friend of mine, was the guy that I called, we made it happen. And we were able to get a foundation called the Manton Foundation to match all the money we raised. So we raised the $500,000 in about a year. We're really excited. We've got 38 individual grant requests that have come in for a total of 62 frangible fences that have already been requested and are being sent out as we speak to events. So as of today, we have 153. There's always stuff evolving ways to make the sport safer. And so that, like, if I had to point to one thing that I feel like I've done to try to help improve, so within the sport, you have two governing bodies. You have the United States Eventing Association, which is the affiliate that runs the sport of eventing specifically. And then you have the United States Equestrian Federation, which runs horse sports of all different sorts. And so I was already involved a bit in the USEA, and I got more involved in that. I got involved in the creation of the cross-country safety subcommittee. I got involved in the USEF, and now I'm a chairman of the eventing sport committee. And it makes me laugh because I think of myself as a competitor first, but I think I've definitely gotten the reputation through all of this of like being the safety guy, which is weird to me because as we've said, I'm not a college educated person, I'm not an engineer, but my passion now is to try to find ways to lessen the risk for the horses and for the riders. And honestly, it's selfish for myself so that I can sleep at night and know I've done what I can do. So after 2008, those horses that I had been competing to that level, obviously I sadly lost Monty. Tell you why. Tristan, he needed to retire. He had kind of done his thing, and so he retired here on the farm. Lion King went on for a little bit and did a few more big things. We got to go to Europe and compete at a World Cup final and do some fun stuff. But he was getting older as well, so we retired him, and both those horses lived out their days here on the farm and were treated like kings, right? They got to go out and had the corner stall in the barn, and they were the man. So I had to rebuild the string. I had to rebuild the group. And I had a nice horse that I got from Darren Chacha, who was my friend who'd had the accident. And it was a Trakehner bred horse named Downtown Harrison. And he's a horse that I took to a lot of good competitions. He was kind of a superstar from a very young age. He made the Pan American Games team. So I was on the Pan American Games team. And it's funny, I always feel like I get so close and then something just grabs me and pulls me back. It seems to be what happens. I get right there on the edge of like really getting what I want, and then something pulls on me. So I went to the training camp here in Ocala because we were going down to Guadalajara, Mexico, and the training camp was going well. My horse felt great. We had the last vet inspection, and the team vet decided she thought he looked a little bit funny, and they pulled me off the team. That was another moment where, I had to go to my friend Lynn Szymanski and give her a hug and say, here, this is my trunk. This is my Team USA trunk. I pulled my stuff out. It's your trunk now. This is your stall. You're getting on the plane tomorrow. I'm not. And I went home. But we got the horse sorted. We got him right. And I came out the next year and I had a chip on my shoulder. Like I needed to go out and prove this was a good horse. And so I took him up to Canada, to Bromont, and he won. He was amazing. He put in a really good dressage test. He was incredible on the cross country. He was another one, not unlike Tell You Why. He was a fancy mover. He knew how to do the dressage really well. But he wasn't the best galloper. He wasn't the best jumper, but he had a heart of gold. And I knew how to ride him because I started him as a 2-year-old. So I knew him inside and out. And so I was able to put in a fast enough round on cross country, and then we show jumped and he won. It was awesome. Chuck McGrath and Megan Ritchie, who had a horse named Proper Timing that had gone intermediate, that I got to know them really sort of around that sort of time frame. And I'm really lucky because they've become good friends and owners, and they're great people. They're family to us. They kept PT with me for a long time. I got to do his whole competitive career. He went to Bromont, had a great performance. He jumped around Fair Hill a couple times, which is another big event up in Maryland. I was able, through a really great family named the Broussards, to be able to go get a really nice horse in Europe named Zatopek. And that was such a good jumping horse and such a galloper, and got to go to some great places with him as well. Jumped him around Fair Hill. took him all over the East Coast of North America. Janet Olson was a huge supporter of me for many years. She owned a ton of horses, and it was really cool because she kind of started as a student, became a good friend, and then eventually wanted to be involved as an owner of the horses. And the most notable one was direct merger. She was a huge part of his entire career and really was a big part of making everything that he was able to accomplish possible. Heather Jans and DJ Jans have become a part of the team for the past several years, many years. And again, cool because she started as a student, she evented, she was very successful. She eventually transitioned to pure dressage, and then years later came back and has been a part of several horses. The most notable right now is Fernhill Copang, which is Kurt in the barn, and we're really excited about him. I think he's going to be a world beater, and it's really fun to have Heather and DJ as a big part of that. Kept Downtown Harrison going for a while also, but really just I've been really fortunate with the people involved. You know, I got Mike, I've got so many people. I can't name them all, I'll forget somebody, but these people who really sort of through all of this, whether it was when things were great or things were bad or whatever, they stuck with me. Because again, like I said, we're family. I think the thing that keeps me going and makes me want to do this, I mean, that's a tough one. At this point, it's all I know. It's who I am. Like it does define me, right? And I think any athlete probably feels at least a little bit that way. I remember when COVID hit, being really sad that I wasn't going to get to compete, because that's what I love to do. And I remember saying to Jen, like, well, I don't even know, like, I mean, this is gonna be tough because I like to ride, but I love to compete. And then I got a few days into being in quarantine and I thought, oh wow, like I actually love to ride and train and be with the horses. And it was, again, one of those things where it was a really bad time for the world, right? It was coronavirus, it was COVID, but I came out of it energized because I realized if you took it all away, if you took away all the competitions, all of the ability to travel, all of that, I'd still do exactly what I'm doing because I love doing it. I love riding my horses. I love making them better. It's who I am, and it put things in perspective for me in that moment of realizing, like, I love to compete. I want to compete. I want to be the best that I can be. I want to be able to compete against the best in the world, and that's what I'm striving to try to keep doing. As long as you stay physically fit and healthy, look after yourself, treat yourself like an athlete, I think you can go as long as you want, right? And I don't see any reason why I'm not going to go for quite a while longer. So Jen would be quite happy, I think, if I said I'm done, I'm going to hang up the boots and we'll just, but I'm not ready to do that. I still have something left to prove to myself. But as long as I feel good and like an athlete, I mean, I beat guys younger than me at the gym, so I feel like I can be out there doing it, and I'm not slowing down anytime soon. So a big part of the future in rebuilding the string is making sure that I have the horses, and to have the horses, you have to have the support. So a big part of what I'm trying to do now is kind of diversify that. And I have a lot of different things going on. Sometimes I get a little bit criticized by my friends and family of like, you've got a lot going on, you don't have any time to hang out. But I'm trying to find new ways to support the horses. So I've got a really cool project that's in the works right now where people are going to be able to be a part of it. People that maybe didn't think they had the chance to be a part of something like this are going to have the chance to be a part of something like this and be able to be part of some pretty cool horses and be a part of the journey, which I'm really excited about. I think it's gonna be cool. It's kind of harnessing new technology, and it's gonna be fun. Event as a kid, and so to go back and win the big class there, the 4-star long, was, I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome, and that's where I had my awesome social media post.
Katie's gonna quit like tomorrow. Did you go down the range? Now what? Do we climb up there? Yeah, how much like this guy? I could get hurt. You could get stung. I'll keep the lights on. Awesome! There you go, buddy. I think there is a side road over there.
Yeah, there definitely is a side road over to the right.
Take me to the corner where we gallop out of here. If I gotta do this, I'm getting up there right.
Just shut my mouth.
Oh, this is great.
Oh, yeah, this is not gonna be good.
Unlock the door.
Oh my god.
I think someone should video up here and from up.
No, there's no one videoing from up here.
Oh, John, the bromite sign's up there. Okay, so you can just run down this road.
Go. Oh, so I have to. Okay, I got
You got no. You gotta go down, way down.
Wait, let me interview you before you go.
No, it's a bad idea.
John,
Yeah.
you committed to doing this and you won. So
I can't believe I'm about to do this.
instead of Walt Disney World, you get Bromont.
I get it.
Okay.
Come on, downtown Harrison.
Jen, how do you feel about this, even though it's dark? Push your
I'm
light
pretty
button.
sure this was my idea.
I think so.
Don't miss
Can't
this.
see anything.
Oh, here we go. Red shirt.
Should I dip the headlights?
We got
Yeah, put them on bright.
No.
right.
All right, go. Take them off. Go!
Awesome.
Did you get that?
Yeah.